I'm Pastor Paul Holt with a Bible Factor update. Disney uses Beauty and the Beast to introduce homosexuality to children. And I ask the question, why do Christians continue to support Disney? Everybody loves a good Disney movie. And some of the movies that they have made over the years have been wonderful. And everybody's kind of just given a pass for when they sort of subtly hint at homosexuality and immorality in the background. But they have taken many of the classic parables, if you will, children's stories from such writers as Hans Christian Andersen, some of the tales like Sleeping Beauty, and of course, Beauty and the Beast. And on March 17th, Walt Disney is going to release a live-action version of Beauty and the Beast. But this is not an appropriate movie for children. According to reports of what is going to be in the movie, there is going to be an openly gay scene. Now, how far they're going to take this has yet to be released. But the fact is that Walt Disney Studios has decided to include within its stories a openly gay character. And they're using the characters of LeFou and Gaston. Now, forgive me for stumbling there, but some of those names are a little difficult. I haven't seen the cartoon since the early 90s. But what they've decided to do is to take, that famous Gaston song that LeFou sings during the cartoon, and they've turned that and kind of twisted it just a bit to make it his, love song, if you will. That sometimes LeFou wants to be Gaston, and sometimes, according to the director, he wants to kiss Gaston. Now, the fact is that Disney has been very pro-LGBT, and however many other letters you want to follow after that, for many years. It's no secret that Walt's brother Roy was a homosexual. The fact is that it is somewhat ingrained, and although it's really showing up in all of our popular culture, it's somewhat ingrained into the Disney culture. And it has been a subtext just below the surface of what we are consciously picking up. We might find little subtle references in past cartoons. But what we now have here is Walt Disney being open about its homosexuality and thinking it's okay to teach this to children. After all, who is this movie focused at? Who is it aimed at? Who is it marketed to? Well, the fact is that they want to include a exclusively gay moment into a Disney movie, and this allows children to start to question what is right and wrong and whether or not homosexuality is acceptable. Let's face it, movies, and in particular cartoons, are very powerful. And this particular movie, although it's live action, it's based on a cartoon that most likely parents, even today, are still showing to their children. After all, it was a great cartoon back in its day. It was very popular. I know my children all watched it several times. And they could sing all the songs with Mrs. Potts and the other characters. And, the songs were catchy. The same music's being used in this movie. And so, by just twisting it a little bit, by just changing some of the subtleties of LeFou's singing, as performed by Josh Gad, they're opening the door and teaching children, introducing them to homosexuality. This is dangerous. Well, actually, it's evil. We're teaching children that sin is okay. And what did Jesus have to say about us teaching children about sin? Well, in Matthew chapter 18, verse 6, Jesus specifically warns, "But whosoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." God takes sin and the teaching of sin to children takes it very seriously. And I should point out that one of the reasons that God created marriage was for parents to teach their children how to be godly. And so I would ask, why are we still supporting the Walt Disney Studios? I would advocate not a protest, not a boycott. Those are temporary things to try to get Walt Disney to change their ways. Walt Disney is not going to change their ways. I guarantee you of that. What we need to do as Christians is stop supporting Walt Disney. Stop buying the cartoons. Stop going to the movies. Stop, going to the full-priced movies, the dollar movies. Stop buying their cartoons. Stop buying the characters. I know that we love many of these characters. From Mickey Mouse to, well, you name them. We all love them, right? But the fact is that we can't support this any longer. And certainly the last thing we want to do is go to Disneyland or Disney World. And hey, I loved those as a young adult. And even as I got older, love going to Disneyland and Disney World. It's fascinating to watch Abraham Lincoln as an automaton and watch him get up and speak. Those are amazing things. Such wonders were created so many years ago. But the fact is that when we go to Disneyland and Disney World, when we buy the movies, when we watch the TV shows, we are supporting the introduction of homosexuality and other immorality to our children. Look, I would even go so far as to cut the cable and cut the satellite. And if you don't want to cut those, call your cable supplier or your satellite provider and tell them to cut the Disney channels out of your subscription. How do you do that? Make it happen. Look, I'm not talking about a boycott. I'm talking about walking away and never returning. I think this is important. Jesus' words matter. Matthew 18:6 shows us that the Lord wants us to take our children's morality seriously. And we can't support Walt Disney any longer. I don't care how much we love Mickey Mouse. I'm Pastor Paul Holt with a Bible Factor Update, and you can find me at thebiblefactor.com.